Wide receivers are flying off the boards in these best ball drafts. So it begs the question, what is our wide receiver strategy for the entire best ball draft season? We've kind of done some research. We're going to break down the research and what we found in the research today on this video. And we're going to tell you how we're approaching drafting wide receivers in these best ball and fantasy drafts. Do us a huge favor first. Make sure you hit like on the video. Thumbs up on 3, 1, 2, 3. You were late, Nathan. Make sure you subscribe to the channel and make sure you're heading over to flockfantasy.com/domain. When you use our code domain, you're still late. Use our code domain over there. You get 30% off. You get rankings, articles, databases. You get access to our Discord. If you do the Mother Flocker tier, you get some personalized team advice from the three of us. We'll review your team. We'll grade it. We'll tell you what your next steps should be. So make sure you're heading over to flockfantasy.com and using code domain over there. Like I said, what is our wide receiver strategy? It's a question that needs to be answered. It's a question that we did a lot of research for. And by we, I really just mean him because he does a lot of our research because he's smart. So we're going to start with this. In theory, the average league win rate, if you think about it, is 1 out of 12 if you're playing in a 12-team league. So that's about 8.3%. So technically, you could say that for someone to contribute above the average league win rate, that would make them a league winner. But probably the more appropriate term for these players is league stepper. Like that. He came up with that because
so dumb.
I know. That was not me. But
you do the research,
it's someone who gives you a slight step up above your league mates. So if we're going to define true league winners in these best ball drafts, in these fantasy drafts, we're going to say they contributed to double the average league win rate at 16.6%. So there have been 736 wide receivers drafted in these leagues since 2017, and only 14 have had a win rate over 16.6%. Only one of them was taken in round 1. Only one of them was taken in round 2. Only 2 of them were taken in round 3. So what does this tell you? Only 29% of wide receiver league winners had been drafted by the 4th round. Now, given that, the visual on the screen should explain a lot for you. Historically, there's not a minefield or a bad place to take wide receivers. So there is not really somewhere that if you're taking a wide receiver there, it's going to put you at a disadvantage. However, there certainly is a good place to take them, and that place that is good to take them is going to be in the first round. And hopefully, like I say, you can see all the green in the first round on the draft. That means draft wide receivers in the first round. Unless we're finding ourselves, so this is our first bit of strategy for drafting wide receivers, and unless we have some crazy clear value that's falling, we get a running back like CMC like at the 112 or something like that, we're taking a wide receiver in the first round every single time. We're talking about Justin Jefferson. We're talking about Jamar Chase. We're talking about Stephon Diggs. We're talking about Tyreek Hill. We're talking about Cooper Kupp, AJ Brown, CeeDee Lamb, Devontae Adams, Amon-Ra St. Brown. All of those guys are candidates to go in the first round of your best ball drafts. Historically, this is going to be the way to go if you want to give yourself the best chance of winning these best ball leagues. So we're going to be taking these wide receivers. We're going to be taking them in the first round every single time, in short.
Yeah. If you still don't believe us, we have even more statistics for it.
No.
So let me get into it. In half PPR last year, in 2022, there were 33 wide receivers that averaged more than 10 points per game, and there were only 7 that averaged 15-plus points per game. Those being Kupp, Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Jamar Chase, and AJ Brown. So the guys you would expect. Now, let's look at the running backs. And yes, this is a wide receiver running video, but let's look at the running backs. There were 27 running backs who averaged 10-plus points per game, suggesting it's a more scarce position. If we look at the top, the elite ones, the guys who averaged 15-plus points per game, there were 7 of them. And so if you look at where those guys are being drafted right now, we're using underdog ADP. The wide receiver 33 right now is going in the 6th round. Tyler Lockett at 64.4, that's his ADP. He was one of, if there were 33 wide receivers last year to average more than 10 points per game, he's going in the 6th round. You say maybe there's 27 running backs this year who do the same thing, more than 10 points per game. Well, the running back 27, James Conner, is being drafted 20 picks later at 85.7. 85.9, my fault. So,
big difference.
You're able, huge difference, right? They're not even a full pick. But the thing is, you can see wide receivers are a lot harder to get a hold of. So here's our strategy. The first round ADP this year is 8 wide receivers, 1 tight end, obviously Travis Kelce, and then 3 running backs. 6 of the 7 elite wide receivers from last year, so the guys to give you more than 15 points per game, are all going in the first round. So if you're looking at that, you're saying, if I leave this first round without a wide receiver, I'm missing out on one of the only 7 guys who might average 15 points per game. And it's different every year. Maybe there's 10 this year. You know, maybe there's 12, and maybe it's a crazy year and there's 20.
Maybe there's 100.
But we're betting there's not. So if you're leaving your first round without a wide receiver, you're putting yourself at a disadvantage. Next, if you look at guys like Devontae Adams falling in the second, there are times where you might want to grab a wide receiver in the second. I mean, there's guys like CeeDee Lamb and Garrett Wilson sneaking in the back of the first, and they might join that elite tier. But if you look at the average points per game from last year of the wide receivers going in round 1, so if we took the wide receivers by their ADP right now and average out their production from last year, wide receivers in round 1 averaging 16.5 points per game for the 7 guys going in round 1. I'm taking out rookies. They're just not being counted, for the record. In round 2, there's a pretty drastic fall to 13.1 points per game for the 7 wide receivers going in round 2. Fall to round 3, there's 5 wide receivers going. Last year, they averaged 11.5 points per game. In round 4, 10.8 for 7 more wide receivers. And in round 5, 10.6 points per game. Now, if we want to look at the running backs in round 1, and there's only 2. There's CMC and there's Austin Eckler. And they averaged 18.7 points per game. If you look at round 2, it's 15. So that's better than the 13 for the wide receivers, and there's 5 running backs going there. And round 3, it's still 15 points per game, even with JT and his bad year last year. 3 running backs going there. Round 4 is 11.5, and round 5 is 10.8. So what are we going to do with this data? Like I said, if you are leaving round 1 without one of those wide receivers, you're going to have a pretty drastic fall off. When you go to round 2, you're picking up the scraps. You're picking up guys, very good NFL wide receivers. You know, we're looking at Devontae Smith. We're looking at Jalen Waddle, T. Higgins, Chris Olave, and these guys are very good wide receivers, but most of them are wide receiver 2s on their own NFL teams, and none of them produced at an elite level last year. So if you're reaching up into that second round to grab that wide receiver, you're putting yourself at a severe disadvantage when you could have grabbed a running back that's going to produce at an elite level anyways.
So I think what we're saying here is that we're just offering guidelines for your draft strategy when it comes to wide receivers. So in general, you want to target an elite producing wide receiver in round 1. In general, you want to target some of those running backs in the second and third round because there's a significant drop off in production from the wide receivers going in the first to the wide receivers going in the second and third. Those are just guidelines. There are times where you can make exceptions because while the points per game from last year goes significantly down in rounds 2 and 3, that doesn't account for the projected increase in production for guys like Chris Olave going in the second, Garrett Wilson even falling in the second sometimes. And if you go as far as, to round 3 or 4, Deebo Samuel falling there because of his poor production last season due to injury and the volatility at the quarterback position in San Francisco. So I think you should note that there are some wide receivers that you'll want to account for those exceptions if they're good values there in those rounds.
Yeah, absolutely. So who are some specific players in these best ball drafts that we're going to be targeting? So in round 4, 2 guys. Number 1, Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin last year, look, and we talk about Terry McLaurin on our Dynasty channel all the time, but when you're looking at where Terry McLaurin finished last year in PPR leagues, he was the wide receiver, I think 15 off the top of my head.
Yep.
That is not something to fade. Terry McLaurin, you're getting him significantly cheaper than some of the guys you're getting in the second and third round, like T. Higgins, for example. T. Higgins didn't score as much last year as Terry McLaurin. T. Higgins going higher in the draft, so why not wait, get running back value, and take Terry McLaurin instead. DJ Moore, also in that round. DJ Moore, not somebody who historically has been a wide receiver too. However, he is going to be playing with the best quarterback he's played with in Justin Fields, which doesn't say a lot because Justin Fields isn't that good. But you get him in round 4. In round 4, I got him in round 5 today in a best.
I don't know.
Draft.
PJ Walker was pretty good for DJ Moore.
Well, I have a hard time making that argument.
Passer than Justin Fields.
That's true. What about some round 5 guys that we're targeting in these best ball drafts?
Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
being one of our favorite guys right now in fantasy football. Obviously, he's fallen, going significantly further in drafts than Calvin Ridley. Who, everyone knows he's on the Jags now. Everyone's excited about him being tied to Trevor Lawrence after not playing football for 2 years.
Calvin Ridley's not missed a single beat. Clearly, like he's going to step out there and he's going to be the exact same player.
Exactly. Christian Kirk, of course, the actual wide receiver one who's produced as an actual wide receiver with Trevor Lawrence before. We're going to count on him having some pretty high production this season as well. And Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, at worst, are going to help each other. Like if Calvin Ridley actually is successful, they'll help each other. Christian Kirk, regardless, is not going to be affected when it comes to Calvin Ridley's production in that offense. Chris Godwin, another guy in round 5, who's just eternally a buy.
I love it.
In every format.
Every best ball draft.
Every single format. Godwin. You should always be taking him. He's severely undervalued. Quarterback proof. Slot wide receiver. He doesn't need Tom Brady to produce. Mike Evans, there's an argument to be made that Mike Evans, at his age and his type of receiver that he plays in that offense, with Jameis Winston being the gunslinger that he was before he moved on, and Tom Brady, like he's more of a deep threat, more boom bust. Chris Godwin is just going to consistently get you 8 to 12 targets a game, and in PPR formats, man, you should be drooling in round 5 to get Chris Godwin.
Yeah, yards after catch for Chris Godwin, route wins for Chris Godwin, average depth of target for Chris Godwin. I mean, the dude is going to get targets and he's going to score fantasy points. He is one of the best receivers in the NFL. You should be taking him in the 5th round every time. And then a couple of 6th round guys as well. I mean, we have quite a few targets here, but
yeah, we have Marquise Brown, obviously someone who started off the season last year as a very good performing wide receiver 1 until DeAndre Hopkins came back, and Michael Pittman, someone who a lot of people last year were drafting as a low end wide receiver 1. Matt Ryan didn't prove to be what we wanted him to be, but you got a new offense with Shane Steichen and Anthony Richardson, and I think the point in giving you these targets is understanding that you don't have to reach for the wide receivers in round 2 and 3. There's plenty of guys with the upside who are falling, and especially when you're looking in a best ball format, there's lots of guys who are going to offer you those same ceilings, every other week, and maybe not week in and week out. But don't reach for the guys who are giving you 13 points week in and week out. Take the guy who might give you 20 every other week. And there's always going to be guys that are falling anyways. Fantasy is not about I'm going to take this guy in that round. There's going to be people who your league mates don't like and who are going to fall to you. And these are just, you hit the nail on the head. These are guidelines. These are just, let's look at the historical data. It's really great to take a wide receiver round 1. This year, we don't think it'll be great to take that wide receiver round 2. Let them fall instead. And these are just the guidelines unless they're falling.
Yeah,
yeah, and with Marquise Brown specifically, guys, first 6 weeks of last season before D-Hop came back and before he got injured and before Kyler got injured and just, the train wreck that was the Arizona Cardinals last season, 10.6 targets per game.
Is that good?
10.6. Should be taking that in the 6th round.
It's pretty good. In the 7th round, you've got guys like Jahan Dotson, even in his rookie year, was showing that he could score 20 points in a single game when he goes off. Jahan Dotson, for him to flash as a rookie and people to just be kind of forgetting about him and then letting him fall down, he's a really good pick.
He's like wide receiver 37 or
Eric Bieniemy.
Eric the Enemy is going to just light it up with Jahan Dotson. And then Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis is a really good best ball pick because of his boom or bust in best ball is good. And when you have the boom for Gabe Davis, I mean, it booms. You saw it in that playoff game. He had 4 touchdowns. Everybody knows it. But even last year, I mean, he was there, and then he wasn't. But then he was there, and he's catching 2 deep touchdowns, and then he was gone the next game. So, Gabe Davis, great pick in round 7. From a points per game perspective, that all evens out. And some of these guys, when they're averaging 12 points per game, but they're a little bit more boom bust, you like those guys. That's why Jalen Waddle's a pretty good wide receiver pick, actually, in your best ball leagues as well, because even though he's more boom bust than some of those other receivers up there, that actually can play to your advantage in a best ball league. So, again, these are just suggestions. There's tons of guys that we could use as examples to target, but that's the general basis of our wide receiver strategy. Again, these are just guidelines. This is what we found, and a lot of this is based off of our core principle. We should put this on a pillow. When they zig, we zag. And we are hardcore zagging,
Zig?
Especially
zag.
Yeah. The point in the zigging is everyone else is letting the running back position fall, and we used to see 9-8 running backs going round 1, and now you're able to get them through rounds 2 and 3.
Zig,
zag. Zig. Zag.
No way we just did that.
That's how we do.
Don't unsubscribe. Please like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Make sure you head over to flockfantasy.com. Use code domain 30% off rankings, articles, Discord, Mother Flocker tier, listener league, and we'll review your team on video. How about that? Check it out. See you later.